Welcome back to your fifth C++ tutorial, guys. Now in this tutorial we'll be talking about loops. They are also referred to as iteration statements. So if we go by a literal meaning of loop, it means continuous. It means something repeating many times, right? So similarly, if I want to display numbers like 1 to 100 or characters from A to Z, I won't sit all day typing C out 1, C out 2, C out 3, C out 4. There has to be a way to do this job in a single, not single, maybe in 2 3 lines, right? So that's where loops come in. So there are three types of loops in C++: for loop, while loop, and the do while loop. In this tutorial we'll be talking about for and while, and I'll tell you about do while in the next one. Okay, so there are three things associated with a loop. All right, so just like anything else, for has opening and closing brackets and these braces. All right, so in here we need to give three things. First thing is the initial value. All right, so what we mostly do is we define a variable here. Let's do a code to print characters from A to Z. All right, so the variable is C equal to A, will start from A and will go to Z. C is less than or equal to Z C plus plus. Alright, so what this basically means is we have set a character C whose initial value is A, and it will continue to run the loop until it reaches the value Z. Alright, and in every step the value of C will be incremented by 1. So if in the first step C is A, next it will be B, C, D. All the characters are also represented in the memory in the form of integers only. So if I say C plus 1, it's valid in case of characters also, because C plus 1 basically refers to adding 1 to the ASCII value of C. ASCII value is the integer version of the character which is stored in the memory. Alright, so let's go ahead and see out the value of C, so we get to actually see if it works or not. Just save it. Characters, maybe, spelling mistakes, I love them. And compile and run. There we go, A to Z, right? So that's what basically loops are for. You can, it saves you the task of writing 26 different cout statements. You can just do it with 2 steps, right? So let me just revise it once again. The first thing is initialization, the second thing is condition, and the third thing is increment or decrement or updation, right? So let me tell you the flow of the program. C is first initialized to A, right? Then it is checked if it is less than Z. Of course, A is less than Z if we go by the ASCII values, and if we go by the character set also, A comes before Z. That's it. So then it will go to the loop. It will print the value of C. Once the all the statements here inside these braces are completed, it will go back to updation. Alright, so then C++ will set the value of C to B. Then it will again check if it is less than Z. Yes, it is, so it will again run the loop. Next, again the value of C will be incremented by 1, and this process will go on until it reaches the value of Z. Once it reaches the value of Z, the condition fails, and then the loop is over, right? So that's what for loop is. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing with while loop, right? So there's a basic syntax difference between for and while loop. Rest everything is the same, right? So we'll say while C is less than or equal to Z. In case of while loop, what we need to do is we need to declare or initialize the variable outside the loop before the loop, right? So we'll just say C is equal to A outside the loop, then in condition is right here, and the updation statement comes within the loop. right? C out C and C plus plus. So let's go ahead and run this code again, so that we get to understand if the output is the same or not. There we go, we get the exact same output. So what the basic difference is: initialization before the loop, outside it the condition, and updation inside the body of the loop, right? So that's the basic difference between for and while. Most of the times they can be used interchangeably, but in certain cases, if you do not know the initial value or something, you do not know how many times you need the loop to run. In certain cases, in such particular cases, we use while. Using while is far more challenging than using for, right? So mostly we go for. I personally prefer for loop. I try to use for wherever I can, because playing with while is a bit dangerous, right? So that's about these loops. Let me show you a few simple examples to display some shapes, right? For I is equal to 0, I is less than 17, maybe I plus plus. uh, just make it integer here, right? So we can see out asterisk maybe, and that's it. Let's go ahead and see what happens. It will just see out 17 asterisks in 17. No, not different lines, same lines, right? So that's what this code does. So what if I want the asterisks to form a certain shape? I want one asterisk on the first line, two on the next, three on the after that, four after that, and like that. So for that we need to add another loop inside the for loop, another for loop inside the for loop. Now of course, for another loop we need another variable. For j is equal to I, j equal to 0, j is less than I, j plus plus, and see out this. Go out of the j loop, no, end the j loop right here. Just make sure you indent these things, right? Indentation basically means putting some gap between the various loops, right? So you get an easy understanding. So this first for loop ends here, and this inner loop ends here, right? It's easier to look at the code this way, plus it's more beautiful. All right, so now if I want my asterisk to be on the next line, I'll need to add end l here, and l, that's it. Let's go ahead and see what it does. Compile and run. There we go. Beautiful, isn't it? So let me just tell you what this code actually does, right? So when the value of I is 0, j is also 0, so nothing happens. So that's why the first line was blank, right? When I is 1, j starts from 0, and 0 is less than 1, so it only runs once. When I is let's say 10, j starts from 0 and runs till 9, right? So 9 asterisks will be displayed. Alright, so for each and every value of I, j runs more than one times. Right, this is called, again, this is called nesting of loops. One loop inside the another one is called nesting of loops. You can even nest while loops inside each other, but that is highly unadvisable, right? So that's basically it for this tutorial, guys. Go ahead, try a few shapes. Again, I have included various shapes in the document, so just go ahead, try them out, and then I'll see you guys in the next one.